Hi, in this demo, we are going to see authentication and the authorization stage of an Kubernetes API request. For authentication step, we are going to create a user and then get it authenticated to our Kubernetes cluster. For authorization step, we are going to first create an RBAC rule and then we would assign that RBAC rule to our newly created user. As of now, Minikube does not have an inbuilt certificate controller manager. So to enable it, we need to pass some extra arguments like as shown on the screen while starting up the Minikube cluster. Similarly, Minikube does not have RBAC enabled by default. So to enable it, we need to pass respective arguments as well, like as shown on the screen. After bringing up our Kubernetes cluster using Minikube, if we look at the current configuration, we can see that using our current context Minikube, we are connecting our user Minikube to the cluster Minikube, which is getting served at our Minikube's VM IP address. In this demo, we are going to have a namespace called LFS158 and a user called Enkhare, which would have just the read access of the pods on that LFS158 namespace. To manage the user details, we are going to create a folder called RBAC, which can be any other folder as well. In that RBAC folder, we are creating a private key for our Enkhare user using the OpenSSL. After creating the private key, we are creating a certificate signing request using the OpenSSL tool, which would generate a signing request in the file enkhare.csr. Now, using the Kubernetes certificates endpoint, we are creating a certificate signing request as shown on the screen. In our certificate signing request object of Kubernetes, we are going to pass base 64 encoded CSR request, which we have generated in the previous step, like as shown on the screen. Now, using the kubectl create command, we are going to generate a CSR request. And as we can see, our request is generated and it is currently in pending state. Now, using the kubectl certificate command, we are going to approve our CSR request. Once our certificate request is approved and issued, we are going to take out our certificate from that approved request, like as shown on the screen. Our certificate is now saved in enkhare.crt file. Now with kubectl config set credentials command, we are creating a user called Enkhare, for which we have a private key with the name enkhare.key, and we have a certificate in the enkhare.crt file, which is being approved via our Minikube's CA. Now with the kubectl config set context command, we are creating a context called enkhare-context, using which we are connecting our user Enkhare with Minikube cluster for the namespace LFS158. Now let us create a deployment nginx inside LFS158 namespace using our current context Minikube. The deployment would create pods inside our LFS158 namespace. Now let us try to list those pods using our context Enkhare-context. And as we can see, it is failing with an error saying pods is forbidden. User Enkhare cannot list pods in the namespace LFS158, which is expected. But with this command, what we can definitely see that our authentication step has been succeeded. We could not list the pods because our user Enkhare does not have any role as of now. Now as a next step, we are going to create a role called pod reader for our namespace LFS158, using which the users would be able to list the pods inside that namespace. Once our role is created, we now need to assign our Enkhare user to that pod reader role which we have created in the last step, which we are doing using the role binding. And as we can see, we are connecting the user called Enkhare to our namespace. LFS158. After creating the role bindings, we can see that now using the context enquery-context, we can now list the pods inside the LFS158 namespace. So in this demo, we have seen authentication and authorization stages of any API request.